Welcome to Momentum, everybody. Welcome, welcome. Thank you very much. It is true, my wife and my little girl are out of town, thousands of miles away in Albuquerque, New Mexico, which means that I don't sleep at night. You know what I'm saying? Like, that was funny. Jen, this is the first time both Jen and the baby have left me. So it's kind of sad. But I told Jen, like, if you're single in here and you're used to living alone, you're used to being in your bedroom by yourself, right? That's just how it is. Then when somebody comes into your room, you're like, this is awkward. I'm not used to having people in my room. This doesn't feel right. Well, it's the exact opposite for me. My wife and I bought a house together. We have our bedroom together. I've never been in the bedroom without my wife. So when I go to bed at night and it's just me staring at four walls, I'm like, what am I supposed to do? What am I doing here? I know this is a bed. I know you lay in it, but it doesn't make sense to me. Because usually as we fall asleep, we talk, and she hits me because I fall asleep, and she asks me questions, and I get mad at her. And, she wakes me up, and I'm like, why'd you wake me up? I was sleeping. And so none of that's happening now. So I'm all out of whack here. And so that kind of leads me to my message tonight. And I want to talk to everybody tonight. The title of the message, if you're taking notes, is Balancing Your Life. Balancing your life. Balancing your life. And I want to just let you know tonight that I want to talk about two different types of people in this room tonight. First type of person is the type of person who is positive about life. And then the second type of person is the type of person who is negative about life. You will either be a person who is more positive, or you're going to be a person who is more negative. Now, you might say, well, I'm kind of right in the middle, absolutely 50-50. That's not necessarily true. You could be 60-40, 55-45. You're going to lean towards positivity or negativity in life. People always say, hey, is the glass half empty or is it half full? And if you're a positive person, you're going to say, half full. If you're a negative person, you're going to say half empty. Why? Because you see that it's half empty, and that's the negative side of things, and that you kind of lean towards the negative things in life. And here, I'll give you more examples. Here's another one. Do you constantly need encouragement? If so, then, who just said that? Yes. If you constantly need encouragement, then you're lean on the negative side of things. How about this one? Do you need to motivate yourself to confront people? Like really motivate yourself and work yourself up to confront an issue or a problem in your life? Then you're a type of person who leans more towards the positive side of things. Why? Because you don't want to stir it all up. You're content with just letting it be still. You're content with, hey, I can live with this kind of attitude. It's all right. Hey, who cares if they messed up? We had a great night. It doesn't matter if we lost the game. Everybody's awesome on our team. That's kind of the positive side of things. Were you raised in a home of positivity or negativity? Ask yourself that. That tends to form you as you get older. If you lived in a really negative home, chances are that you might be a little more negative. If you live in a positive home, chances are you're probably going to be a bit more positive. Do you constantly see what needs to be fixed? If so, then you probably lean towards the negative side of things. How about this one? Do you love life, love people? No matter what happens, everything will work out and everything will be okay. That tends to be lean towards the positive side of things in life. Every person leans one way or the other. You're either more negative or you're more positive. You don't necessarily have to be super extreme to one side of the fence or the other, but you definitely lean one way or the other. And I'll just let you know tonight, I am more of a positive person. I'm more of a positive person. I see the brighter side of things. I tend to look at a situation as positive in life. Even if it has lots of issues or lots of problems, or I see a lot of things that need to be fixed, I still sleep well at night. I tend to be relaxed about it. And as a matter of fact, I'm the type of person who, a problem is confronted, I kind of get excited to solve the problem. I also get excited to give people problems. Hey, I walk up to one of the people on staff and I say, hey, this whole thing is falling apart over here. This ministry, this department, it is completely falling apart. Why don't you just fix it? Because I just say, hey, let's just fix the problem. Let's get it solved. Let's move forward. Let's change it if we've got to change it. If not, it's still good. And I tend to see the positive side of things. I just got my car back today. I took my car into the shop. One thing I can tell you about owning a car is it costs a lot of money. And I don't care what car you own. Okay? It costs money to own a car. And I feel like I own 2 cars, and it seems like about every other month, one of my cars are in the shop. And I just got my Ford back today from the shop. And what happened is in the winter, my battery wasn't working. And now, if anybody knows anything about batteries, if it gets cold outside, the electricity flows slow. It just goes slow. And so if your battery is weak in the wintertime, you probably won't be able to start your car. Well, I was having a hard time starting my car in the winter, and then when I would try to jump it, it would take an extra long time to jump. As a matter of fact, Jay Schlott and I were outside in 0 degrees for about 45 minutes to an hour waiting for my car to charge one night. It was absolutely horrible. And I finally said, that's it. I just got to get this battery fixed. I'm tired of jumping my car. I'm tired of guessing when it's going to start. And I just took it in the shop. And, they call you back a couple hours later with the bad report. It's never good. It's always bad. And they said your positive side of your battery, the cabling that goes to the positive side of your battery, we need all brand new cabling for that, because on startup, your battery decreases in voltage, and you have a negative side of your battery and you have a positive side of your battery, and both need to be working equally the same or your battery won't function properly. And I thought that's true in life as well, isn't it? You're too positive, that's not good. Balanced life, living a balanced life. My battery was too negative. It's too much negative juice, not enough positive juice. It's not working properly. And the same thing is about you. If you're too negative all the time, life, that's not good for you. If you're too positive all the time, that's not good for you. And I'll prove to you why. Too positive all the time, nothing gets fixed. Nothing gets fixed. You don't confront issues. You don't solve problems. You don't walk up to people and let them know that they did a bad job, because you're just so positive all the time. Not everything is perfect, right? But the positive people, they want everything to be perfect. It can't happen like that. And the exact opposite side of the spectrum, you're too negative in your life, that's not good either. Why? Nobody wants to be around you. Nobody wants to be your friend. What does the Bible say? You have to be friendly in order to have friends. The Bible says that. If you're too negative all the time, nobody wants to work with you. Nobody wants to be around you. Nobody wants to talk with you. You're a downer all the time. Negative Nancy, Debbie Downer. Nobody wants to be around those types of people all the time. But the same side is true about too positive. If you're always positive, you're always encouraging, people see that and they say, give me some real advice, would you? You know what I'm saying? You ever walked up to somebody and you really were struggling with something in your life, and you just opened up to them and you told them all your problems, and their response was, well, it's all going to work out? That's frustrating. You're like, what? Give me something to work with here. Tell me to change something. Tell me to drop a relationship. Tell me to fix this thing over here. It's not all going to work out. I have to fix something. See, you have to be balanced in your life. Here's the solution. Find the balance where you can both be positive and negative about things. Here's the thing, folks. You've got to be both positive and negative with things in your life. You have to be. You have to be. You have to be both positive about things in your life, and you have to be willing to see reality, right? And say, this is a problem that needs to be fixed. That's why living a balanced life is so important. I just want to say this. You guys are young. I'm young. We're all young. Not 1% of us here are in our 30s tonight. The rest of us are probably like 22 to 18 years old. We're young, and I want to tell you something. As you get older, life will smack you in the face hardcore. How will you respond to that? How will you respond to that? Because if you are not balanced in your life, then life will have a way of just beating you up. Beating you up. You'll blame people for your problems because you don't want to take responsibility. You'll sweep things under the rug because you just want them to go away. You'll begin to hate people because they've cheated you and they've hurt you, or they've backstabbed you, or you confided in a really good friend and they went and told somebody else your personal news, and you just can't figure out why somebody would do that to you, or somebody broke your heart. Things happen in life. You know what I'm saying? Balanced life. You're young now, but if you want to have the same energy, the same attitude, the same, right now, we're young and we're happy about the future. If you want that same attitude, that same mindset, that same vision for the future, you must be balanced in your life. Balanced in your life. And I want to teach you tonight on how to get balanced / how to stay balanced tonight. If you can grab a hold of this message tonight, grab a hold of what Jesus did and the example he showed us on how to get balanced, how to stay balanced in your life, you will live a life of happiness. You will live a life of destiny. You will live a life with purpose. You'll live a life where you will be a leader and not a follower. I enjoy following at times, but I love being a leader. And if you really want to be a leader, you've got to have a balanced lifestyle. Nobody wants to follow the super positive, the clown, right? The clown, you just need to grow up. You know what I'm saying? Clowns are for kids. I'm growing up now. But you don't want to be, who? I can't even think of a name right now. Frankenstein. You don't want to be the Frankenstein. Just super destructive, tearing everything down in your path, bolts coming out of your neck. That's just harsh, you know what I'm saying? And you don't want to be like that. And so you've got to stay balanced. And here's the number thing, how to stay balanced. Number one, here you go. Find a person in your life who balances you. I was talking to my wife driving around the other day, and I said, Jen, are you more of a negative person or a positive person? And she goes, oh, you know that. And she didn't really want to answer it. And I said, no, tell me what you think about yourself. And she goes, well, I'm kind of a negative person. And I said, I knew that. She kind of is a negative person. She kind of just leans that way. And I go, well, what do you think I am? And she goes, well, you're positive. And I said, I am. I'm more of a positive person. We balance each other out. See, when we drive home, sometimes from church or whatever, and she just says, well, I want to confront this, and I want to solve that, and I want to do this, and I want to do that, and I want to do. And I say, you know what? Just leave it alone. And I'll come home from work or from a church service, and I say, wasn't it great? Wasn't that awesome? How about this and how about that? And she goes, what about this problem, though? You really need to confront that issue. And I go, yeah, you're right. I need to have that hard conversation. The balance, finding people in your life who can keep you balanced. And I tweeted this out about a week ago. I said, are things going good for you? Tell somebody about it. Are things going bad for you? Tell somebody about it. It's never a good idea to isolate yourself. Put people in your life who can keep you balanced. Now, Jesus had an incredible example set out for us about balance in his life. When he hit 30 years old, he started his earthly ministry, and the first thing he did was he chose 12 disciples. And I want to tell you right now, Jesus had a weird team. He chose 12 men who were all over the board. Tax collectors, fishermen, he was a carpenter. I mean, we're talking the business millionaires to the poor fishermen. Then we've got a guy named John who was just leaning on his chest all day long, telling him Jesus how much he loves him, because John was the young guy, and he was just constantly all over Jesus, just like pulling at his clothes, his hem of his something, and tassels, and just saying, come on, I'm right there by your side. And then you got Judas, who's kind of a jerk, who steals the money for himself, who betrays Jesus at the end of his life. I mean, that's a spectrum, right? We've got John, who's just in love, and we've got Judas, who just doesn't trust him. We've got, and the reason Jesus has chosen 12 men who are all over the board, completely different in lifestyle and attitude and who they are. We got Peter, who is a super strong leader, always the first to walk through the door, always the first person to talk, the first one to experience everything. He walked on the water, he jumped out there, he did it all. And then you got people like Thomas, who you barely even know about his life. We're all over the board here. And the reason is because of balance. Jesus put people in his life who balanced everybody out. You must have people in your life who balance you. If all your people in your life are just like you, you are a dysfunctional person. You'll end up very dysfunctional. It's so important to put people around you who are different than you, who think differently than you. You're never going to learn anything new if everybody around you is just like you. You're never going to watch a new movie. You're never going to experience a new thing. You're never going to think differently. You're never going to act differently. You're never going to see the other side of the equation at times. Everybody's story is true until you hear the other side of the story, right? And so if you've got a problem and you're like, this relationship in my life, my boss is my boss is and if your friend just thinks exactly like you, they're just gonna pet you and say, yeah, your boss really is a jerk, and he really does deserve it. You should just quit and throw hot water in his face as you walk out. Because he just thinks exactly like you, and you know what? That's not good. You need somebody in your life to calm you down. Somebody in your life to show you, hey, you're not living in reality here right now. Keep your job. Don't act like that. Don't have that attitude. Get people around you. Get people around you. Find a person in your life who balances you. Find people in your life who can balance you. Life is so much more fun if you've got just a bunch of weirdos around you. And weird teams really are the best teams. Weird teams really are the best teams. Just weird people around you. Weird, odd people. You're just like, why'd you just say that? You got a friend, his nickname's like Crazy Joe. It's because he's crazy. And everybody likes that he's crazy. It's because he's going to do something crazy. I used to go to all the hardcore shows when I was in high school. And there were some crazy people there. And there was this ridiculous venue in Holly in this guy's living room. This guy would open up his living room and have hardcore shows in his house. And he had rules. You weren't allowed to break anything. But there was this crazy kid who was always breaking something. And he had a stub for a hand. I don't know exactly. It was like a birth defect. But it was like rock hard. And what he would do is he would break things with this like crazy stub hand. And every time we go to this guy's house, he would constantly punch a hole in the wall. And it drove this guy crazy, the homeowner crazy. And one night, the concert was going off, this band was playing, it was getting really crazy and rowdy in there, and we just knew Crazy Joe was going to do something. That wasn't his name. And he asked to stand on somebody's shoulders, and he stood on somebody's shoulders, and he punched a hole in this guy's ceiling. We're like, you're crazy. And we ran out and went home, and we were like laughing all night long about what Crazy Joe did. You got to surround yourself with people like that at times. You got to get out there. You got to experience new things. Bill Wilson was here over the weekend, a great pastor in New York City. He said this. He asked us all a question. And I asked you guys a question tonight. When was the last time you did something for the first time? Because if it's been a long time since you've done something for the very first time, it's probably because one of the reasons could be that you just surrounded yourself with people who act and think just like you, and so you never went out and did something out of the ordinary. You got comfortable with your life. That's not good. Number two, stay connected to your source, Jesus. Stay connected to your source, Jesus. Listen to John 6:56. It says this. This is an incredibly crazy verse. And I don't even quite understand what's exactly going on here. But listen to what Jesus says to his disciples. He says, whoever eats my flesh and drinks my blood remains in me and I in them. Talk about staying connected to the source. Eats my flesh and drinks my blood. It's just a total commitment to everything Jesus is. You know what I'm saying? Stay connected to the source. And here, I want to tell you tonight, if you're searching in life, if you're wondering if there's more out there, there's got to be more than this. There is more than there is more. It's Jesus. And I like what Jesus has to say in the Gospel of John. He says 7 things about himself. He says 7 things about himself, which if you can believe and trust and know these things about Jesus, you are so much better off in your life. Listen to what he says. Number 1, he says, I am the bread of life. You got to stay connected to the source, Jesus. Are you hungry? Jesus is your bread. He says, I am the light of the world. You're living in darkness. You're living in sin. You're tired of living in that world of darkness. Run to Jesus. He's the light of the world. He says, I am the gate. Are you lost? You need to find your way home. He is the gate. He is the way home. You just run to him. He'll open the gate for you. He lets you into his home. Another one, number 4, he says, I am the good shepherd. He watches you. He takes care of you. He makes sure that you get good rest at night. He makes sure that you get the water and the drink you need and the sustenance you need in your life. He is a good shepherd. He takes care of us, and we're his sheep. He says, I am the resurrection and the life. You're scared about death. You're scared about eternity. You're scared about the afterlife. You're not exactly sure. He says, I am the resurrection and the life. You put everything, your hope, your trust, your belief system, everything in me. You will never die. You will live forever in eternity. And you know what? I had a dream last night. I was telling, Rick was taking me to the Tough Yada this morning at 9 o'clock this morning to pick up my car. Where's Rick at? Where's he at? There he is. And I told him, he was telling me about this crazy dream he had, and I had a wild dream last night. I had a dream that it was today, not today, but like it was right now, that my wife and Charlie were in Albuquerque. I had this dream that my wife and child were in Albuquerque, which they are, and Jesus came back. And it was really real. You know, like when you wake up and you're emotionally invested in what just happened that night, sleep, one of those dreams, you know, if when it feels real and you wake up, you're like emotionally affected, right? And I woke up super excited. Jesus came back. It was crazy. The sun was setting when Jesus came back. I'll just say that in my dream. It was a beautiful night. Jesus came back, and we were, boom, taken up, or here on earth. And it was just us Christians left. It was a wild dream, incredible emotions I was feeling in this dream. Jesus is the resurrection. He is the life. He is the way. Number 6 here, he says, I am the way, the truth, and the life. You know, we are a generation who says there's no such things as absolutes, right? There's no such thing as absolutes. We've been taught that in school, and maybe we believe that, but I'm telling you, Jesus is the way, he is the truth, and he is the life, and that is an absolute statement. And that's what I believe. And the last thing here, he says, I am the vine. And in order for something to grow, it needs to connect to the vine. You got to stay connected to your source. You got to stay connected to your source, Jesus. Number 3, and how to stay balanced. You got to be in the world, but not of the world. You got to be in the world, but not of the world. I was thinking the other day about this sentence. You know, when a woman has a child and she becomes a mother, do you think that mother needs to be spoken to by God to take care of that child? No. Why? It's just, you've got to do it, right? And it's really odd when people abandon their children, right? It's a sad story. It's like, why would anybody do that? Don't you know you need to take care of that child? And I was thinking, just like a mother takes care of a child, us Christians, if you call yourself a Christian, then you should be the people who are taking care of the lost and the hurting. And you shouldn't even have to be called by God to do anything like that. It should be in you. And you should think you're weird. It should be weird for you not for your heart to break for the lost, and your heart to break for people who are hurting on the inside, and people who just need help, or people who just need encouragement, or people who just need somebody to help them and pull them up and just go out to lunch with them and just pour into them. That should be in you. You don't need to be called by God to do things like that. That should be in you. And you need to be in the world but not of the world. You got to be in the world to make a difference. But don't act like the world to lose your testimony. If you're never around hurting people, you can't help anybody. You got to be there. Here, I want to say this. You got to be in the world but not of the world. And I want to tell you this, as Christians, don't be so heavenly focused you got no earthly sense. Someone's hurting, they need real help. I'm just praying for you. But I really need money for food. Well, I'll pray for you. What? Help them. Give that person a sandwich. You're so heavenly focused, you got no earthly sense. Don't be like that. Be actually real. We're called to help hurting people. But if you're never around hurting people, you can't do it. Get in there. Get in there. It keeps you balanced. Number 4, last thing, and we'll end shortly. Get accountability. Put people in your life who can correct you and teach you and help you. And I want to admit to you tonight, I don't like correction. Newsflash. If you like correction in here, you're like, yeah, I like it when somebody tells me I was being an idiot. Just go ahead and raise your hand. I didn't think so. Roger, you're an idiot. But I'll pray for you. Get accountability. It keeps you balanced. It keeps you balanced. If you've got nobody in your life telling you you're doing something wrong or you're being stupid, that's not good. That's not good. But nobody likes to be told that, right? Nobody likes somebody to walk up to them and say, you're doing it all wrong. Because you get offended, you get hurt. You're like, what? How could you say that about me? I thought you were my friend. That person probably is the closest friend you have. If you got somebody in your life who is willing to, it's so difficult to walk up to people and say, you were so wrong. It's so difficult to do. If you got people in your life who are doing that with you, you are a blessed person. You are a blessed person. Why? Because they save you from so much heartache if you can just listen to that. You got somebody, I am such an idiot at times. I can let you know. I don't believe people when they tell me something. I have to experience it for myself. Is anybody like that in here? Okay, my youth pastor growing up, he was like, hey, make sure you get the right friends in your life because, your friends determine your destiny and your friends will determine your future. Look at your friends and I'll tell you your future. And I was like, oh, that's such a cool sentence. That's a cool thing to say. Show me your friends and I'll show you your future. I was like, I don't know if I believe it though. And so what I do, I went out and got a bunch of idiot, stupid friends. And I became an idiot and stupid person. I got into drugs. I got into alcohol. I got into smoking. I got into partying. I got into girls. And all that road I went down and trying to impress these people. Oh, yeah, I want to be cool like them. I wanted to get in. I want to go to the parties. I want to experience all that. You know what happened in the end? My dad caught me smoking marijuana, and he's a pastor. And my world came crumbling down. Because all my friends, I thought that I was trying to impress and act like cool around them. They didn't care that I got caught. And when I was in my room crying because I lost my parents' trust and my sister is yelling at me because I've been such an idiot, I was all alone in my room by myself. I had no friends because they didn't care, and my parents didn't trust me. I was all alone. You surround yourself with people who will lead you down the right road. Show me your friends, and I will show you your future. I don't sometimes buy into the gimmicky sentences and the Christian-y way of lifestyle. Sometimes I personally say, I got to experience it myself. Well, I've experienced it. And you know what? It sucked. And I'm telling you right now, get accountability in your life. You must be able and willing to take correction and teaching from someone. Living a balanced life. Let's have Ben come out back on the keys. About to close the service out. And if everybody could just bow their heads and close their eyes and just kind of get focused, I want to just read my last closing sentences to you guys. It's just the concluding thoughts from the message. And I just want you to listen to what I have to read here. This is really the point of my message. I'll just read this to you. I strive to live a balanced life so that I can last a long time in the ministry and still be a living testimony of Jesus as I get older. Too many people are disillusioned by this life and become jaded. I don't want to become a bitter, old, jaded man who quits on his life and ministry. If you want to make a lasting impact, have a balanced life. That's my closing thoughts. That's what I want to be. And every head is bowed and every eye is closed in here. And I just want to, my 4 points, I just want to tell them to you quickly. And because I want you to get these again. Number 1, find a person in your life who can balance you. Number 2, stay connected to your source, Jesus. Number 3, be in the world but not of the world. And number 4, get accountability if one of these things or 2 of these things or 3 of these points or all 4 of these points affected you tonight. That just raise your hand to Jesus. You're not telling me, you're telling Jesus. Just do it right now and saying, that's me, Jesus. These points, I just need to do this. It's awesome. Put your hands down. That's great. It's so good. I believe Jesus is here tonight. He's just been working on hearts tonight. Maybe you came here tonight and you'd say, I am far from Jesus.